Morning, this is Jennifer Sanchez. You are tuning into the Wise Coffee Chat Show. We are live on all the YouTube social media channels, as well as the show is on WRMN 1410. So you can learn more about WRMN 1410 at WRMN1410.com. This show plays every Wednesday at 2 p.m. on that platform. Also, who am I? My name is Jennifer Sanchez. I am the founder of the Wise Alliance Network, Wise, and now I am the author of the newest book coming out on Friday, Wise Women Empower Women. So I'm super excited about that, as well as I'm a mom of 3 beautiful girls and a real estate investor. So that is who I am, but I'm super excited for my guest this morning. She is one of the most important people in my life, and she's acknowledged even in the book. So I wanted to let her introduce herself. Nancy, can you introduce yourself to the viewers and listeners?
Thank you. Yes, Nancy Rivera. And yes, we go back a ways.
Yeah, way back.
We met in the marketing industry, and we can say that we've come a long way.
We have, so totally. So, Nancy, before we go into more about who you are, can you tell us what's your favorite coffee?
Coffee, okay. Yeah, I drink Lingano 3-in-1 latte.
That's the mushroom coffee,
it does
right?
have mushrooms, yes.
Nice. How do you like that?
It's yummy. I have about 2 cups per day.
Oh, nice. I've tried it. I've tried the mushroom coffee. The mushroom coffee is really good, but when we'll go into the story, but I learned about cubanitos and espressos all through you. So I know that you are also the founder of Plus Bookkeeping Services, right?
Yes.
Can you tell?
That's my current big endeavor that keeps me the busiest. And Plus Bookkeeping Services. So it's actually a nexus of bookkeeping, accounting, and tax strategy. So we're providing a one-stop shop for our business clients because a business needs all 3. You need a bookkeeper, an accountant, and someone to do your taxes. And it's very important that all 3 are communicating because then as a business owner, you have your financial team. So that way you can concentrate on building your business as opposed to, trying to connect 3 different professionals.
Makes sense. Absolutely. What inspired you to start? Well, I've known you for so long, right? Almost 20 years.
Right.
And I've seen I've learned a lot about, and for those that are watching, like Nancy is not only like a mentor, spiritual mom. I mean, I admire this woman so much, and she's changed my life tremendously, both professionally and spiritually. So I'm going to get emotional, but I got to keep it together. So tell me a little bit about what inspired you to start the bookkeeping business.
Yeah, well, my career was accounting, about 15 years in accounting, worked on the MBA in accounting. Then I went into marketing, but ministry was always in the background. And then when I left corporate America, I had the opportunity, and I want to emphasize, opportunity to reinvent myself. And that's when I thought, I like working with numbers. Yeah. I don't necessarily like the accounting profession in corporate America.
Sure.
Accountants have a reputation of being dry and rude.
Yes,
so,
they do.
So we didn't want that.
Sure.
And so I thought, well, I like working with numbers. That's like playing Legos for me.
Nice.
So I started the bookkeeping business, did my research. Bookkeeping is a thriving industry. A lot of companies are outsourcing bookkeeping. And so the first year, it was just myself, my computer, and the Excel program. And here it is 10 years later. I have a team of 8 bookkeepers, 4 accountants, and 5 CPAs.
Wow.
Yeah, that was not by design. And my bookkeepers are all women, Christian women with small children, which then makes me a social entrepreneur.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that, especially if they're women with children. You said predominantly single women, or
No, they're not single.
They're married.
They have time for their sexy husbands too.
Oh, that's very nice that you're giving them time for that. But it's always nice to know that you are also empowering women, right? Because they're working for you. You know, it's a big deal in my opinion, right?
Yeah. And actually, they are subcontractors. They have their own businesses, and they handle a bulk of mine.
Nice.
So the fact that they're entrepreneurs, that mindset is different. They're not employees.
Yeah.
You know, this is part of their business.
And I think when you work with subcontractors, it's a little bit different because they also are more responsible. It's not just an employee.
Exactly.
Right.
Their mindset is very, very different.
Agree. Because an employee mindset might just be like, okay, let me get in, do the bare minimum to get by, and get out. Exactly. When you were dealing with an entrepreneur, they might be more like, let me get in, you're my client. Now they see you as a client.
Exactly.
Let me give the best performance I can to get my pay, and then, go on the next day and so forth, right? Would you agree or disagree?
The interest is different.
Yeah.
So as subcontractors, they're vested. They're invested in this. It's an opportunity for them to grow. They want you to grow. It's a reflection on your company, your ethics, your integrity, and the quality of work that you provide.
I love that.
So when we're working with entrepreneurs, another reason I went into this industry or started the business was because 88% of our economy are small businesses. So we're the backbone of America. And one of the values of my company is that we treat our clients with respect and honor. We don't just prepare the financials, hand them to you and say, here you go, see you later, or the same with the tax returns. Our goal is that our clients can understand the financials so that they can use it as a planning tool. How are they going to grow if they don't know what their numbers are? That's a big problem. One big problem we have in America, or actually in the world, is financial illiteracy.
Yeah.
They don't know what financial statements are. They don't know how to read them.
They don't know how to do a check.
Yeah. So they don't know how are they going to grow if they don't know these numbers?
Yeah.
So a simple formula for me that I share with people is that if you want more money as a business person, you have to increase your income. That means more clients.
Yeah.
Increase your rates. And decrease your expenses.
That's good. Right now, when you were talking, I wanted to share last week, my last guest, who was a speaker from my conference, she's part of the Napoleon Hill Institute, Think and Grow Rich.
Yes.
And that was one of the first books that I ever picked up, thanks to you, that taught me about even just building money, building wealth, masterminding, right? All these terms. So, have you always been involved in financial literacy and those type of wealth building topics?
And even more so as time progresses. While we're mentioning books, I do also recommend Rich Dad,
Poor Dad.
You can get these books at the library, so there's no reason not to.
Rich Dad and Poor Dad, the full audio is on YouTube for free.
Exactly.
So.
And so that book teaches you about financial literacy and the mindset that we have about money,
Yeah.
But I'm also on the faculty for the Women's Business Development Center. They have an excellent entrepreneurial program.
They do.
Programs that range from ideation phase, they have an idea, startups, all the way to women who have $1 million companies. Yeah. Because you constantly have to be thinking and learning. The market changes. The economy changes. So you have to be alert what's going on. And then I'm on the faculty of the Rogers Park Business Alliance. These are excellent programs.
They are. I've because of you, I've done the Women's Business Development Center programs. I'm very familiar with a lot of these groups. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't take advantage of the resources out there.
They don't, for a couple of reasons. They may be too busy working in the business, meaning that they're doing the cooking, the baking, as opposed to being the CEO and delegating and thinking. Because your business is 80% sales and marketing. The CEO needs to keep that sales pipeline full. So there's a big difference working in the business or on the business. And then taking time to, a lot of entrepreneurs make this big mistake of really just creating a full-time job for themselves
Yes.
as opposed to a business.
Yes. Where there's just cash flow coming in. I mean, I've learned from the 4-hour work week. That's always been my goal. Like, how can I have a business where I'm only involved 4 hours a week?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And I know you're big on that as well. Like, let me delegate and pass on have other people do the tasks.
Exactly. In addition to those 8 bookkeepers, I have a virtual assistant and I have a marketing coordinator, also a website developer, and they're also women.
I love that.
Not by design, but that's the way it happens.
That's the way that it happens. I also learned one of the books you shared with me, E-Myth Revisited. Remember
That's such a good book.
that book actually, and I've said it multiple times to people. Whoever wants to read E-Myth Revisited really taught me the mindset of like the 3 levels, right? The working bee, the management, and the entrepreneur, and what that looks like. And something right now that triggered me when you were talking was, when you see these businesses, and he says this in the book, that say like Kayla's hair salon or, John's barber shop. That usually means that person's mindset is an employee mindset.
Right.
Versus having the just a name that can be branded and grow outside of who you are.
Exactly.
And a lot of people just work and just make themselves jobs.
Exactly. Which can be really hard because then you're going to be working 10, 12 hours and not working on the business. Now, when I came into the fullness of the CEO role, I would say about 3 years ago, it was a transition. You come into this fullness. So then I had the opportunity of thinking of new marketing strategy, segmenting bigger clients, because not all clients are the same.
Not at all.
I have clients I have one tiny little client that she has like a $20,000 business. So that's her hobby. But she's faithful to it and she loves it. But I have a $5 million client. Do you think that what's going on there is totally different? The books are different. So, and they're growing.
Yeah. I think I heard, and maybe you can correct me because you probably know this better. The average entrepreneur makes $40,000 a year. Is that accurate? I thought I read that not too long ago.
That sounds like a salary as opposed to entrepreneurship, because are you talking about salaries or revenue?
No, revenue.
Revenue?
Yeah.
Those are small businesses. Then that would be a classic example of somebody who has just created a job for themselves. But I don't know about that statistic.
I just read it not too long ago, but I'll confirm it. And if anyone's on social media or listening, feel free to Google and search and see if that's accurate. But when I read that, I was like, wow, that's just not fun, right?
What they've done is they just created a job for themselves where they are the boss, but it's a job.
Yeah, and sometimes, and people don't realize, like, working in a business sometimes can take a lot longer, more effort, or you're working maybe later in the evening, earlier in the day, especially when you're starting ground up. You might be working a lot more hours than a job, right?
Exactly.
Especially if you are the marketing, if you are the CEO, if you're wearing all the hats.
Yes, if you're doing everything.
And then you're only making that amount of money or revenue, profit per year, I would say just get a job. At least that's 8 hours, with a lunch, maybe.
But what they want is the freedom. What they're seeking for is the freedom. And hopefully their business is something that they love to do. Like I said, bookkeeping for me is like playing with Legos.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
So it isn't stressful. But again, a business owner, you're spending 80% of your time in marketing and sales and 20% in operations if you want to have a successful business.
Yeah, and I know even before we came on, you made a comment. You said, because I met you at a marketing agency, right?
Right.
And this was my first internship on Michigan Avenue. what was the exact address? Is it 355 or I don't remember.
233 or something.
233 Michigan Avenue, and I was just amazed because you know I'm from the city. I grew up in Albany Park, had no corporate at all. You took me from, you know, I'm sure I was a headache.
No, you were not.
Okay, well, I know. I mean, I know that
You did spend some time in my office.
I did. I was in your office a lot. But
see, you were very smart because she would come in there to ask questions.
That's good.
About the business, about marketing, about clients, even about Jesus.
I did. Yeah. It was that definitely was a time in my life that I was like, who is this that you keep talking about? Who are you praying to? Why are you praying saying Father God? Why are you calling him Dad? You know, like I just remember like, and I was 20 at that time, or I just turned 21, I believe. So I just remember I was really like excited because the environment was exciting. It was again a downtown internship, right? And I made a lot of friends with a lot of the actual employees that worked there, which was pretty cool. You know, and so it just kind of opened my mind to what could be, right?
Yeah.
But
it was a divine appointment.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, because you did accept the Lord there, 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yes, I did on December 22nd. I know, I remember. But it was, and you did Bible study. I thought that was amazing. In corporate America, you would conduct these Bible studies there, and you had all these corporate people attend, and it was just, to me, I've never experienced something like that, which I enjoyed. And I said, I admire this. I want to keep developing in this area. And I guess, according to you, I did really well. I'm not trying to gloat in front of my students, but you know, I did really well because I remember.
And still doing well.
And I'm still doing well. But the PSAs, right? You taught me the remember the PSAs, talking to all the radio stations, getting I forgot the client.
It was Hispanic Christian Churches Association.
Yeah, and I remember I was sending their radio and TV spots. It was media. Which coincidentally, I'm still in media, right? In a different capacity. But I thought that was fun, calling up all the stations and saying, hey, can you play this PSA? Right. And I thought, you told me that I brought in, $1 million rev. I forgot what you told me, but I was just like, wow, I didn't know I was this good at that, you know?
So what we ended up, PSAs are public service announcements.
Yeah.
So basically you don't pay. You don't have to pay for them.
Yeah.
And so over the course of time, we brought in $600 million of donated media time.
Wow. Yeah. Because I learned through you that radio stations and TV stations are obligated to give airtime.
Yeah, they do have to give a percentage
of their time to airtime. A lot of people don't know that, you know, so it's like, now you make sense why it's like those old, what are those commercials? This is your brain, and then this is your brain on drugs, and they smash the egg. Like, that's a PSA, right? Yeah. But I didn't know that growing up. I just thought it was like a commercial, right? But it's interesting how the marketing, 20 years later, I'm still involved in media in this capacity, but it was really introduced through you. Right. So I got to thank you for that, you know. And then, so funny enough, I just went to that building not too long ago to visit a radio station. It was just like deja vu, like, oh my God, I remember here when I was like 21 years old, you know. I remember the WGCI station, which was iHeart, was in the same building of the internship. So you would see people all the time coming in, celebrities coming in. It was just exciting for, you know, me.
It's a lot of fun.
It is. So in marketing, you moved away. You still do marketing, but you do marketing now for Plus Bookkeeping Services, correct?
My business and my ministry. Yeah.
Nice. How do you incorporate media? Because I know you also went to Columbia for media, right? How did you incorporate that into your Plus Bookkeeping Services?
Well, I give my marketing coordinator the content. When it comes to marketing, distribution is what takes a lot of time. And so she's great at that. But over the course of time, she's learned my voice. Mm-hmm. But basically, I do give her the content. This is what I want people to hear about us. Mm-hmm. And then she distributes it. But also in the ministry, there's a lot of marketing there as well.
Yeah.
I teach a lot. In fact, last night I was teaching ministries all over Central America and Mexico, right from my desk.
Yeah. And I love that. You're always telling me what you're doing. I think that's great that you're doing that in different countries. Equatorial.
Ecuador,
Peru. Yeah.
Oh, you're thinking
Yeah.
of Equatorial Guinea
Yeah.
in Africa.
In Africa.
Yes, we teach all the way to the west coast of Africa.
That's amazing that you're doing that. I've always admired that.
I teach administration, which of course has a section on accounting.
And it's important. So going back to accounting, right? I know that we're going to go after the break and we're going to talk more in depth about the mistakes, but what do you advise businesses to start doing now, especially if they're just starting off?
Yeah, keep track of your numbers, because even when you're starting out, you're incurring some expenses.
You're always taking a loss first year. I learned from you.
Well, not always, but
Okay.
typically you don't break even until the third year. So yes, you may have a loss the first and second year, then third year you break even. By the fifth year, you should have a profit.
Okay. And what if they're not by the third year making a profit?
Then they're probably doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That formula, you need more clients, more product, increase your rates, decrease your expenses.
I love that.
But they wouldn't know that unless they look at their numbers.
Yeah, I agree. It's someone just wrote, Yesenia, she wrote, I remember her morning prayers in 2021 that I would join right before my workouts when I was training for my competition. That was Yesenia that commented on the post.
Yeah, we still do prayer.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
yeah, you still do prayer on Tuesdays.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays at noon.
I love that. So I know that we've been talking and chatting. I also learned about espresso. Espresso coffees from you. I thought this was so cool. So I remember you would always take me wherever you went when I did my first internship with you. And I just remember you showing me, you brought out the little espresso machine and it looked like mud coming out.
It was mud.
It looked like mud. And I was like, what
Delicious.
is that, right?
Especially with a spoonful of ice cream.
Oh, I don't remember that part in the office, but I do remember that. And I was like, what is this thing? So even introducing me the coffee and then cubanitos, right? Like the cubanito
Amazing.
coffee. You taught me about that. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Where have you been all my life? So, but yeah, I think this is all great, fun conversation. And I know that we have more. You're going to teach us, about, mistakes that entrepreneurs make and stuff like that. So I'm definitely excited to learn more about you and your story and why you chose to go down this path. Any new things that are arising with Plus Bookkeeping Services that you foresee?
Well, the scaling and the growth, we're entering a new phase now of a different type of marketing, which is LinkedIn Sales Navigator.
Okay.
It's an investment. It's a great tool. And so we're working on that now full-fledged.
Beautiful. Yeah. So I know everyone that's listening and watching, you are watching the Wise Coffee Chat Show on WRMN 1410. You can learn more about WRMN 1410 at WRMN1410.com, where you can learn all about their programming there. And you can follow us on all the social media platforms, Wise Jennifer Sanchez or Wise Coffee Chat Show. So you guys make sure you stay tuned. We're going to take a quick break, but when we're back, we're going to talk with Nancy about the common mistakes that entrepreneurs make with their accounting. So make sure you guys stay tuned and don't touch that dial. All right, we are back. You are watching the Wise Coffee Chat show on WRMN 1410, as well as YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, Wise Coffee Chats with Jennifer Sanchez. And we are here with Nancy Rivera. And I'm excited because we've been talking about her journey, her story, why she started Plus Booking Services, which is you said it was 3-in-1?
A nexus of bookkeeping, accounting, and taxes.
In nexus of bookkeeping, accounting, and taxes. And tax season,
Over.
it's over unless you filed an extension.
Yeah. Actually, tax season for us is kind of all year round.
I was going to say.
Yeah. And then I remember when that happened a few years ago where it was just, it's part of the business. So, but this year only 2 of my clients, oh no, I take it back. 2 of my clients filed extensions with my Chicago team, and then 4 of my clients filed extension with, I have a team in Georgia.
Oh, nice.
So 6 extensions.
I didn't know that. Now, I heard from Laurel Landmeyer. I remember one of her, who's your coach.
She's one of my mentors.
One of your mentors. And I know I'm in her Fast Cash coaching, and I've read a lot of her books. She says that the wealthy don't file on April 15th. Is that true?
Well, it depends.
Okay.
It depends. It depends on your investments.
Yeah.
Because, for example, there's certain investments that don't give you their 1099s until the summer. But it depends. I mean, if you have a multitude of businesses, then it might behoove you to pay toward in September or October.
Which would make more sense.
Yeah. So it all depends. Now, when you file an extension, there are some, caveats there. You still get penalized, or you have to pay interest unless you pay certain taxes with your extension. Mm-hmm. So it all depends on your situation. So it's not
a one cookie cutter situation.
Exactly.
So now that, April 15th passed, a lot of people did get their taxes done. What do you see that the common mistake that entrepreneurs make when it comes to, their taxes and accounting?
Tax season, they're not ready. And the reason they're not ready is because their books are not current on a monthly basis. So they're definitely not going to be current on a quarterly or an annual basis. Your accounting and bookkeeping needs to be current every single month.
Okay.
Yeah. And so people procrastinate. And the root cause of procrastination is fear. They're afraid to look at the numbers. That's why some people, you give them their tax returns and their financials, they're afraid to look at them. Mm. And so that's why we go the extra step of sitting down, going over the financials, help so that they can see how this helps them make a decision. But a good percentage of people don't even look at it. Because they're afraid.
Really?
They will not. And so what is that? That's financial illiteracy. Mm. You have to know what these the financials are telling a story. They're telling the story of your business health.
Yeah.
And the potential for growth.
Yeah.
Because 95% of startups fail within the first 5 years.
Yeah, I've heard that. And then the statistic grows higher for the next 5 years, I thought, right? So like if you didn't fail the first 5 years,
unless you're scaling and growing, like here we're in our 10th year, right? Yeah. So we are doing a new level of marketing. Why? Because we're targeting a bigger segment, not in terms of more clients, but the segment we're targeting now are clients that are generating $500,000 to $2 million. That's kind of like a sweet spot for us because they're comfortable with virtual bookkeepers and they don't even blink at our rates. Whereas smaller clients may say, oh, you're too expensive. It isn't that we're too expensive, it's just that we're not the right fit.
The right fit for them.
Exactly.
And that makes sense, right? Because if you want a higher caliber of service, exactly, you are going to go for this type of person to work with you, right? I mean, I think it goes in all industries, right? When you're hiring a subcontractor or hiring someone to do work for you, you have to decide, do I want, this plastic apple or do I want this
exactly
rich nice apple.
Yeah.
You know,
It all depends on the quality.
it does.
Some people don't even like talking to their accountant. Now, what in the world type of relationship is that?
Yeah.
But it's all because they're afraid. The lack of knowledge. And lack of knowledge can kill you.
Yeah, it literally, literally. I've also heard that one of the two most important things you should have is, especially as an entrepreneur, is an accountant and a lawyer. Those are the most important people on your team.
You need team. Banker is another good
A
person
banker.
to have. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. And what else would you recommend?
On your team. Good internal team, people that you enjoy working with, that are on
Yeah.
the team, meaning that they're working toward the same goal.
Gotcha.
Your insurance agent is extremely important.
I agree, and it makes a lot more sense now that I'm in real estate. All these things, having the insurance, having these mentors, having these people to come alongside you, like have a team well put together, and I think it'll flow nicer, the business, right?
Exactly. And your team can be an asset to your clients because, for example, one of my clients bought their first home. Well, I love my real estate agent. So I connected them. He found them a beautiful home. It was a beautiful experience. I went to the closing.
Very nice.
And it was a grand celebration. And so who on your team, my insurance broker, I recommend her a lot. My attorney, I recommend her a lot to the clients.
Yeah.
So it's good to have that. But it's important to have a team that you enjoy working with and that you have the same ethics
Yes.
and the same values.
How does one make sure of, or how does one make sure of that you're in alignment with them? What would be the signs that tell you that you are in alignment with these people?
You can tell immediately by the way they speak.
Okay.
I remember a long time ago, I was at a class or networking or something, and so when we introduced ourselves and I said the bookkeeping, this young man came up to me and he says, "Oh, well, you cook the books. Now, do you think I'm going to associate with that jerk?" It's like, no, we don't cook. He's a cheater.
Yeah.
I mean, out of his heart, out of his mouth came what's in his heart. So in his mind, when you're working with numbers, you can cheat. Cooking the books, meaning that you have two sets of books.
Oh, I see.
So out of your heart, out of your mouth, what's in your heart is going to come out.
Yeah.
So right away you can tell how people are speaking. Also, their personalities. Are they pushy? Are they listening to you? Are they just looking for clients? Do they care about other people? So you can always tell by the way they speak.
Yeah. And I think integrity is a big deal. And I've learned that also from you, right? Making sure that you do everything right because it's the right thing to do.
Exactly.
I mean, I've heard that come out of your mouth to me so many times throughout the almost 20 years. So it's like, oh, I got to do what's right. So it's kind of ingrained in me. And I think even in business though, but that is probably one of the most important things to have clients, right? And gain people's trust, and people put their faith in you because they know that she does things with integrity.
Exactly.
She's not going to lead me astray. Which you're right, in your industry, there probably is a lot of individuals that might not be ethical.
Oh, yeah. When it comes to money.
Yeah.
There's a lot of lack of ethics.
Yeah, when it comes to money. And yeah, you're right. Now that I think about it, greed. They say that money just only amplifies who you truly are.
Right. Exactly.
So if you are kind-hearted naturally all the time, or someone with integrity, you're only going to manage money with integrity.
Yeah.
Versus
So if you're kind, you're going to do more kind acts.
more kind acts. Yeah, philanthropic or whatever, because that's where your heart is, versus someone that's already naturally greedy.
Right.
They're just going to do more greedier things.
You're going to hoard it.
Oh yeah, I could see that. I also learned that money flows, right? Money is it's a tool.
Yeah. It's definitely a tool.
I know that we're not, a lot of people have this false thought process of what is it? Money is the root.
Yeah, they misquote this biblical scripture. They say that money is the root of all evil, and that's not what the Bible says. The Bible says that the love of money is the root of all evil. Meaning, if you love money, I appreciate money, but the way the Bible is saying it, if you love money, quote unquote, then money is your God. And so you're going to worship it. So that's where you get into problems, where you will do anything to make a buck.
Oh, you're willing to sell your soul for a buck.
Yeah. So that's when you're going to get into problems.
That makes sense. I can see that.
And not every client is a good fit. I mean, I have fired clients, parted ways, and it was like adios.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not going to be a good fit.
Yeah.
We have clients that we don't have any industry niches. I mean, we have restaurants, construction, so a good variety. The beauty industry, speaker. So it's all a cleaning business. So we don't have any industry niches. We do have the Latino niche because we're fluent in Spanish.
That's very cool. Yeah.
And then we also have a niche of clients who are behind in filing their taxes. Not necessarily because they're negligent, but it could be that the senior partner passed away and the junior just didn't know where the financial status was. So we help them get caught up.
Yeah.
And back on track.
Yeah. Yeah. Things do happen, especially as entrepreneurs. I'm learning with the taxes. It's like, oh my God, I didn't know this, or I didn't realize this. It's a whole nother ball game doing taxes as an employee and then doing taxes as an entrepreneur.
Exactly. And I do recommend, like my tax team, all they do is taxes. So they're in tune what's happening with the IRS codes, the new laws, because that's what they specialize in. We're specializing in the bookkeeping, the accounting, but our tax team tells us when they give us our returns, there's the opportunity to how do we make this better next year? What can we take advantage of?
Sure.
I mean, like this year, there was an additional $6,000 deduction for me. It was a new law. It was a happy day.
Oh, that's
But
nice.
what if I went to the corner accountant? Now, I'm not criticizing storefront accountants, but are they really in tune with what's happening with the IRS code?
Yeah.
You have to know the laws
Yeah.
because you also have to know the correct entities to establish your business in. Is it an S corp, a C corp? Because there's tax advantages there. The world of taxes is what we call tax brackets. If you're single, you're going to be in a certain tax bracket. Married filing joint, married filing separate, all of those are going to impact the amount of taxes that you pay.
Yeah, absolutely. So what sets you apart, you as Plus Booking Services, from other, because there are so many, right? What sets you apart?
That the fact that we're a nexus of bookkeepers, accountants, and tax strategy, that one-stop shop is our unique selling point.
Nice.
And then that our mission is that our clients understand their financials. We do have a financial coaching flavor to our business.
Oh, that's nice.
That they understand their financials so that they can use them as a planning tool. Part of our agreement with our clients is quarterly meetings. Let's look at these numbers.
I like that.
Do you understand them? Is this really what you want? Are you doing what's needed?
Yeah, absolutely. So having those meetings quarterly, which I think is amazing, having that financial coaching component, which is a must, because just because you could be bleeding, right? Just because you're a business owner, you don't even know where you're losing money at if you're not even paying attention. You might have all these subscriptions that make no sense.
That is a good point that you just made. That usually when people start businesses, they get all of these subscriptions, thinking that these are going to be tools that is going to help them grow their business. At the end of the year, they're not even using half of them.
Yeah,
And they're expensive.
they are. They add up.
Yeah. So that's a good account to look into. Is your subscriptions. Another important thing with entrepreneurs is what we call commingling.
Oh, yes.
Okay, when you're mixing personal and business. Now, in the beginning, you may need personal monies to start the business, but do not carry that out throughout the business. It causes chaos. If you're ever audited, you're going to have major headaches commingling. Plus, it's against the law to commingle. Now, in the beginning, like I said, you may need to use your own personal monies to kick off the business, but do not make that a habit throughout the course of the business.
So what would help? What would be the, okay, so let's say someone has a business, right? And they're commingling. Let's say someone has two businesses.
Okay.
And they're using one money from one business to cover expenses of another business. That's considered commingling, correct?
That's commingling at a higher level, which is definitely illegal.
Okay. Okay.
Now, you can loan money from one company to another,
Okay.
but if you're just switching money from one company to another,
That's bad.
don't do it.
Don't do it. So, because sometimes there's money tied up, right? So you can do a loan. So how do you track that on paper?
You have a contract. So let's say you have two companies. Company A is going to loan money to Company B. You need a legal contract, a loan agreement.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yep.
That's good to know.
Yep. And even if your uncle loans you money, you need a contract.
Really?
Yep.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. I could see that. Okay, anyone that gives you money, you should have a contract with them, right? So commingling is commingling. I'm just gonna ask these questions, especially for whoever's listening or watching. Is commingling also using credit cards under one business name for something else or something personal?
Personal.
Personal. Let's say personal.
Yeah.
Is that considered commingling?
That's commingling.
Commingling. Okay. So let's say you make all this money and you're gonna use the company credit card to go buy yourself a boat.
Now, is the boat for the company or for yourself?
Now I don't know, right? We could say it's for myself, but we can use it for business purposes to entertain clients.
Okay. Yeah.
So would that be commingling?
If you're going to buy the boat under the company name, then it is not commingling. But if you're buying the boat just for personal use, then that would be commingling.
That's commingling.
Now, if you're going to buy the boat for company purposes, for entertainment, there are certain laws there that you have to take into account as well. There was a time when it was very easy to deduct entertainment, but not anymore. Now you only get like 50% of those deductions. And they've cut back a
Really?
lot because people were actually using these for personal.
Yeah. So like I've seen people throw a party. And they throw a party, and even though they invite all their business clients and friends and family, and then they'll make sure they'll have like a table promoting their products and services or something, right? So like they'll use all the expenses for that event towards business as a business expense and write it off, right? What would you say about that? Is that good or is that not good?
Well, it depends. One word that's really important with the IRS is intention. What was the intention of that party?
Okay.
If it was a business intention or was it personal? Another very important word with the IRS is reasonable. Was it a reasonable expense or was it like sky high, totally unreasonable? They will look into that.
Of course. Yeah, and I'm asking these questions because a lot of times people don't realize that sorry, that was a fart, a brain fart right there. So a lot of times people don't realize, right, that they're making these purchases or doing these activities. And how do we make sure that we're abiding by laws and rules?
That's why you should have a good relationship with your accountant.
And always call. And I mean, I think it'd be safer to always be like, hey, what do you think about this?
Exactly.
Hey, what do you think about that?
Right.
Can I do this?
And do it before you do it. Make the call before.
Oh, we're at right. Not do it. And then be like, guess what I did? And then be
like,
like,
you shouldn't have
no.
done
Have you had experiences like that
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
with clients?
Sure. You know what I did? It's like, oh, God. But, you know, I'm glad you told me because now we know how to handle it on the books.
Because you're honest. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and if it's a personal expense, then we will categorize it as personal.
Oh, okay. And you know, I wanted to talk about a little bit. I know we're talking about Plus Booking Services, and then we want to definitely talk about the promotion, or you promote you, right? Where they go and look for you and find. Before we go into that, everyone has the same 24 hours a day,
Right.
right? You working with multi-million-dollar clients and clients that just make 20,000 a year. What do you see the difference between the way that they manage their time?
One big factor in that is that they have a team. So if when you have a team, that means you're going to have more time to think and plan. And then as the CEO of the company, like Mondays are my thinking and planning days. And then I like my meetings to be on Tuesdays. You know, and then so I have certain things on my calendar every week.
It's very structured.
Very structured.
Right, not all over the place, sporadic. You know, I remember when I used to do the marketing side and had all these marketing clients, I knew Tuesdays and Thursdays were my days to do social media content, to create this, create that, right? So I was very, till this day, I'm still very habitual in my schedule.
Habits are very important.
Now, would you say, you know, because I see there's 24 hours, but there's people that run around with their heads cut off and they don't know how to manage their time.
They're not keeping track, and something very important, they're not making the correct decisions. They just they're reacting instead of responding to what's happening in their life. And these are administrative concepts, like they're not organized, they don't know how to plan, they don't have a team, they don't have a vision, they don't have a mission.
Ooh.
All of those things you need those things documented.
Yeah, you hear that? Well, Nancy, if someone wants to get in touch with you, where can they find you? How do they reach out to you?
We're on all the social media platforms. So my website is Plus Bookkeeping Services. There's a form there. You can fill it out, and it'll pop right into my email.
And then the website is
plusbookkeepingservices.com.
So you guys,
and we're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You know. Now, just a marketing tip here. We do not get our clients from social media, but we stay present, we stay visible on social media, because if somebody looks up Plus Bookkeeping and they see, wow, they haven't posted a message for 2 years.
that is
Are they
so
still
hurtful.
around?
Yes, I've seen that so much, and you're like,
Yeah.
your last post was 2022.
Yeah.
What's going on?
So you have to stay present and visible and stay engaged
Absolutely.
with the market.
Yeah,
Very
that-
important.
We could have a whole conversation about marketing. Like, it's like that's a whole nother level of conversation. But I think these are great conversations to have, especially with the money side, because the money side is important.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most important parts of having a business. Why are you in business if you're not even making money?
Exactly.
You know, if it doesn't make dollars, it makes no sense. You know, so that's why having a good accountant it makes sense. But I love the fact that we're having this conversation, and you guys heard it. Go to plusbookkeepingservices.com to learn more. Thank you. You're also a sponsor for our conference that's happening Friday.
So exciting.
So super excited to have you there. So that's May 1st. So make sure you guys go check it out. Sign up to the conference if you have not signed up yet, because we're going to have authors, speakers. The book that I'm launching is there. So make sure you guys follow me, Wise Jennifer Sanchez. You guys are listening to Wise Coffee Chat on WRMN 1410. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great day. God bless.